Hey everyone, and welcome, especially to all of you young adults out there who are just starting to map out your financial futures and are seriously looking into building some lasting passive income. I am absolutely thrilled you're hanging out with us today, so let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we are going to completely flip the script on what it actually means to be wealthy. I mean, we hear that word all the time, right? Wealthy. But honestly, I want you to just erase everything you've been taught about it up until now. Forget the assumptions, forget what you see in the movies, and definitely forget what society constantly pushes on us. We're going to break down the absolutely critical difference between true cash flow and just relying on a big, flashy paycheck. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see your finances in a completely different light.
So let me just kick things off by asking you a really direct question. Does a big paycheck actually make you wealthy? Seriously, think about it for a second. Growing up, almost all of us absorb this lifelong assumption that landing a job with a massive salary is the ultimate finish line, right? We think, man, if I can just make $100,000, $200,000 a year, I will finally be rich. But is that actually true? Is your income level the true measure of wealth? The source material we're digging into today challenges this head-on. It basically argues that if your definition of wealth is tied entirely to your salary, the size of your house, or the badge on the car you drive, well, you might actually be setting yourself up for a massive trap.
Look at the stark contrast we've got here. On one side, we've got the high earner dealing with high income, high stress. And believe it or not, there are literally thousands of people out there pulling in massive salaries who are barely scraping by, like they are living entirely paycheck to paycheck. The sheer anxiety of just maintaining that high-end lifestyle is crushing them. But then, on the flip side, we have moderate income, high freedom. Now, these are folks who might not have a massive, show-stopping salary, right? But they have a steady stream of income flowing in from completely independent sources. They live comfortably, and honestly, more importantly, they live without the constant panic of losing a single job. That right there, that high freedom, is what we are calling true wealth.
Okay, let's talk about that trap I mentioned earlier, which is basically the illusion of wealth. When you have a ton of money coming in from a big paycheck, it is so incredibly easy to get caught up in keeping up appearances. You buy the massive house, you lease the luxury car, you take those crazy expensive Instagram-worthy vacations. But you know what the real kicker is hiding behind all that? They are living paycheck to paycheck. These high earners are totally trapped. They look super wealthy on the outside, but financially, they are in a highly vulnerable position. If that one big paycheck suddenly stops, they are literally one missed payment away from going to zero. They don't own their time, their lifestyle completely owns them.
And that brings us to a somewhat harsh but completely necessary reality check. Your job is not a safety net. The massive problem with focusing entirely on a big paycheck is the complete lack of stability. I mean, what happens if your company decides to downsize tomorrow? What if the business tanks? What if the entire market just completely changes overnight? If you are relying on a single employer to fund your entire existence, and that goes away, where are you? You're right back to square one with absolutely nothing to fall back on. It's a terrifying thought, for sure, but acknowledging this danger is the first real step toward actually doing something about it.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how we pivot from that insane vulnerability to true lasting security. And the answer to that is cash flow. Cash flow is basically defined as money that comes in every single month without you having to actively work for it. Let's use a super simple analogy here. Relying on a paycheck is basically like carrying a bucket to a well to get water. You know, you got to walk there, fill the bucket, carry it all the way back. And if you stop walking, you stop drinking. Cash flow, on the other hand, is like taking the time to build a pipeline directly from that well right to your house. Sure, it takes a lot of work up front, but once it's built, you have a continuous, steady stream of water, or in this case, income, flowing right to you, whether you actually get out of bed that day or not.
So, where does this magical pipeline actually come from? Well, it's not magic at all. It's all about acquiring assets that generate real-world cash flow. You could build a foundation through real estate, collecting monthly rent from properties. Or, alternatively, you might focus on the financial markets, earning regular dividends from stocks that you own. Or, hey, maybe you tap into your entrepreneurial side, pulling in profits from a business you've built from the ground up, or even collecting continuous royalties from intellectual property like patents or copyrights. Listen, cash flow is the absolute lifeblood of any solid financial plan. This is the exact money that allows you to invest, to save, and to actually live comfortably without having to trade your precious time for every single dollar.
Now, whenever we talk about acquiring these assets, especially stuff like real estate or businesses, the topic of debt always comes up. And this brilliantly illustrates a concept that completely flips traditional financial advice on its head. We are constantly taught that all debt is evil, right? But honestly, that's a total myth. We actually have good debt, which is debt you strategically use to build assets. And then we have bad debt, which is the stuff that simply drains your wallet every month. This totally applies to investments too. A truly good investment is an undervalued asset that throws off monthly cash flow. A bad investment, that's a depreciating liability. Think a luxury watch or a super flashy car that's disguised as an asset just because it has a high price tag. Understanding the difference between these two is absolutely vital for any young adult trying to build real wealth today.
Let's actually break this down with some really concrete examples. Good debt is something like a mortgage for a rental property. Yes, obviously you owe money to the bank, but you've used that borrowed money to invest in something that actively generates cash flow. The asset literally pays for the debt and then puts extra money in your pocket. That is a fantastic result. Bad debt, of course, includes things like maxed out high-interest credit cards or personal consumer loans that you use to buy, designer clothes or the latest electronics. That type of debt does absolutely nothing to build wealth. It just destroys it by draining your wallet every single month.
So let's see how this actually builds in the real world. And hey, here's a massive pro tip for finding your very first income-generating asset. Look into something called house hacking. This is where you buy a multifamily property, you live in one of the units, and you rent out the others. It's genius. Step 1, you put down a down payment on that rental property. Step 2, you take out a mortgage for the rest of the balance. Boom, now you own a massive asset. Step 3, you rent that property out to tenants. And step 4, you just collect that monthly cash flow. The renter-tenant's pay covers the mortgage, it covers the expenses, and ideally leaves you with a steady monthly profit. Your asset is literally paying for itself while actively putting a stream of income right into your pocket.
But hey, maybe real estate just isn't your thing, and honestly, that is perfectly fine. The possibilities here are truly endless. Look at this alternative path for business and intellectual property. Step 1, you invest your time and your money. And this is exactly where sweat equity comes into play. If you don't have a ton of cash lying around, you invest your time and your energy instead. Step 2, you create something genuinely valuable, a small business, a patent, a copyright, or a product that people actually want to buy. And step 3, eventually that creation starts generating profits or royalties for you. It's the exact same principle as the rental property. You do the heavy lifting up front to build the asset, and then that asset pays you back over time with passive cash flow. Now, whichever path you end up choosing, the absolute key takeaway here, like the golden rule of this whole thing, is having multiple sources of income. Remember earlier when we talked about the sheer danger of relying on just one job? When you build a diverse portfolio, you completely eliminate that single point of failure. So, to help you get started right now, today, here, is a very concrete checklist for your first investment. 1. Build up a small emergency cash buffer first. 2. Pick just one asset class to study, whether that's index funds, real estate, whatever interests you. And 3. Make your first small, cash-flowing investment. If one stream temporarily dries up later on, you've got 3 others still flowing into your life. And that is exactly how you build a financial foundation that can support you no matter what the economy decides to do.
And honestly, why do we even do all this? Why go through the massive effort of building pipelines instead of just, carrying buckets like everyone else? Well, it all comes back to this one quote. Wealth is about having the freedom to do what you want when you want. True wealth isn't really about just hoarding cash so you can stare at a big number in your bank account. It's really about buying back your time. It is the profound, life-altering difference between being constantly financially stressed and being truly, actually financially free.
Seriously, when you finally shift your mindset from just chasing that next paycheck to focusing on building assets, the results are completely life-changing. You achieve real, tangible financial security. You gain the actual freedom to live your life completely on your own terms. You finally have the ability to pursue your actual passions, rather than just working a job you hate just to make ends meet. It stops being about accumulating money, and it totally starts being about creating a life of genuine purpose and fulfillment. That right there is the true power of an income-generating portfolio.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you all with one final kind of provocative thought to chew on. Are you just chasing a paycheck, or are you actually building lasting wealth? Think about where all your energy is going every single day. If you want to achieve that financial freedom we've been talking about, it really starts with shifting your mindset today. What do you guys think about this definition of true wealth? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts, so be sure to share them down in the comments. And hey, if you're ready to learn more about exactly how to get started, particularly building wealth through real estate, be sure to join us for our next explainer on how to start investing. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one.